FDIC. Former Governor Haley Barbour with me. Good morning, Governor. How are you, sir?
Hey, Paul.
Man, it's good hearing you. It's good hearing your voice. I miss having you on.
Well, thank you. I just am traveling so much, but it's not a good occasion to be on today.
Oh.
But a good man.
Yeah, we were talking about Leland Speed. I know that when you heard this, we were taken aback a little bit. I mean, he had been battling ALS for a while, but this was kind of a rather fast. I had talked to him it's been several months, probably 3 or 4 months. But he was an incredible individual, and as Perez said earlier, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But your thoughts on Leland Speed, who passed away yesterday, by the way?
Leland was a gentleman. He was a hugely successful businessman. He started 2 New York Stock Exchange companies here in Jackson. They both were REITs. He was a leader, a pathfinder in that industry across the United States. But he was a Mississippian who cared about our state. When I was elected governor, he was a big supporter of mine, and we talked about economic development and that sort of stuff. And I finally asked him, I said, Leland, would you be willing to give up being the president of your 2 companies and come to work for the state and run the Mississippi Economic Development Program at MDA? And he took about 5 seconds, and he said, I'd like to do that. And I said, well, of course, you'll have to give up your job, give up that. He said, that's fine. And so, I don't know, but during the conversation, he said, by the way, I'm going to do it for free. And I said, well, Leland, that's super. And we put together a great team there, but he didn't do it for free because he found out he had to get paid if he was going to be on the state employee health insurance plan. So he made $1 a year.
that's pretty darn good. So
that's his vintage village Leland, and he was a visionary. He not only was from Jackson, he went to Harvard. The REITs that he started were traded on the New York Stock Exchange and very successful. But he also cared about the little towns. He would put on programs for the towns that were 10,000 and below, or not much bigger than that, and have speakers come and talk about little towns around the country that had been successful with getting industry coming to their town, or learning how to do job training. And you get towns like Batesville, which is a relatively small town, Ellisville, which is even smaller down in Jones County. Well, those 2, because of Leland, have plants where General Electric Aviation makes hugely sophisticated products in a little small town. I'll never forget the vice chairman of GE came to Batesville to announce the plant was going to be there, and he said, this is the most sophisticated manufacturing GE does anywhere in the world, and we manufacture in 110 countries. And we're going to do it in Batesville, Mississippi. And, I told Leland, 20 years ago, that idea would have been a joke. But he helped little towns learn what they had to do so that they could attract industry and jobs.
I started off when I came back from Chicago, got the first job in Batesville at WBLE, and I think we had one place to eat was Coleman's Barbecue, and I think there was a couple little restaurants there, and Batesville was nothing, absolutely nothing off the interstate. It was just absolutely amazing, and it's just blossomed. But you are right. In the conversations I've had with him, and I said it on the air, Governor, that I kind of give out tips or in talking so much every week, there are things that I say that have been influenced by Leland, especially when we start talking about small towns, because you're absolutely right. He told me once, and he showed me some pictures and showed me some data on it, how to fix up a small town from downtown to getting the people together, and the amount of power that it had and change in those communities. And he was all in on that.
Oh, he was. And I was blessed. Leland, who was a world-class executive, was the head of MDA, the Mississippi Development Authority, but his deputy was Gray Swope. And Gray was a super professional economic developer. And the two of them were such a fantastic team that Leland was out front. He was the spokesman. He was the idea guy in many cases. Gray was the guy who ran the operation, helped the staff learn better how to do X and Y. And, of course, Gray, when he left my administration, went to be the head of the same program for the state of Florida, a pretty good-sized state. And and he did that for 4 years.
Is Gray not still there?
No, Gray left there when Governor Scott, maybe when Governor Scott went out.
Mm-hmm.
But he works for a subsidiary of Butler Snow.
Okay, all right, so he's back home.
It's called Vision First.
But again, he was a great guy, and also I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with him about charter schools, and he was all in on that one. And he said, Paul, this is the way to change the inner city and these kids who need a chance. And he was all in, and you could tell sometimes he was a little frustrated because it wasn't moving as fast as he wanted.
Well, he's very right, and we've seen that in a lot of other states like Florida. But, Leland was incredibly successful financially, investing just wonderful people. But he was thinking about the families that couldn't afford to send their kids to private schools or to charter schools or to Harvard like he went to. And he understood that if parents had the choice, that was the key for fairness and improving education. Mamas and daddies of children, they got more interest, more concern about their child's education than anybody else. And if they can send their kids to where they know they're getting the best education,
mm-hmm.
and move them if they're not getting a good education.
Governor,
Florida has done that, and hugely successful and very popular with the minority community.
Absolutely. He was there when we made the deal? You guys made the deal on Toyota, was he not?
No, he wasn't when we closed the deal, but he was there very much for the. He stayed 3 years, and he was very much involved with the Toyota. Chase, as I call it.
Yeah.
We started working on Toyota my first year, and they announced it my fourth year.
I don't want to let you go without asking you a couple of things as far as politics are concerned. Again, we are going to miss Leland. He was a tremendous influence, and again, one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. There are so many things that we're worried about here at home. I think we're worried about H.R. 1. It seems like they want to federalize elections and take away the voter ID. And another thing we're worried about is possibly the minimum wage that will kill a lot of small businesses in our state. All of those things. Which one should we worry about mostly?
Well, you should worry about the fact that Senator, now President Biden, when he was a senator, was a relatively moderate senator. His agenda, as we have seen since he got inaugurated, is
crazy. Look, I'm going to ask you this, and if you can't hold on for another segment, I can understand it. But if you can, I'd love to ask you to continue that. It's your option.
Sure. I've only been doing this show 20 years, Paul, so I can spare.
You know. Back live with the governor. He's in Washington, D.C. Governor Haley Barbour, former governor of the state of Mississippi. And Governor, thank you so very much for hanging on here. But the H.R. 1 is moving through. I have no idea where this minimum wage thing's going to go, if it's going to pass. That yesterday he had the climate change. I've got some of the audio, which is boring as it could be, but within the context of what he is saying, is worrying a lot of people, even in the state of Mississippi, because we've got some Gulf Coast from, I think, Texas, Louisiana, maybe even Mississippi now, off the Gulf Coast that will be banned as far as drilling's concerned. Your thoughts?
Well, look, Biden, like I was saying a while ago, was thought of as a moderate. Now that he's been elected, the center of the Democratic Party has pulled him far, far left. I mean, they're talking about a carbon-free economy, that is, no production of oil, gas, and coal, starting with stopping the production on federal lands. And about 25% of those three fuels are produced on federal lands in the United States today, where this country was proud and bragging in the last few years about how we had become energy independent. Don't have to rely on the Iranians, don't have to rely on the Saudis, don't have to rely on the Russians for fuel. Now we're about to turn that back around. We're cutting off fuel from Canada by closing the Keystone XL pipeline, which, not only are the Canadians hot about because we were going to take their oil, now they're going to send it to China, by the way. But it's also cost thousands of jobs, high-paying jobs. Interestingly, for Democrat Biden, union jobs. And I can assure you those union guys did not have any idea this was coming when they said they decided to vote for Joe Biden and carry thin margins in the upper Midwest.
Well, he's got so many states now that are upset. I said earlier on the air yesterday, I said the only good part about this, if you want to say it's good, and it's a heck of a way to achieve this, but if they continue like this, the midterms are not going to be favorable to them. Maybe you're in the House and in the Senate, but it is scary what they are doing. And I'm waiting for the next one. This was climate change. I'm waiting for the next one to be about the Second Amendment and seeing exactly what's going to happen there.
Well, Paul, look, going back to climate change, what they don't say, what the liberal media elite don't tell the American people, that for the last 15 years, the country in the world that has done the most to reduce carbon and greenhouse gas emissions is the United States. Last year, under President Trump, we were the first in reducing emissions, and the Chinese and the Indians, huge producers of greenhouse gases, under the Paris Accord, they don't have to do anything for the next 10 years. And we've already, for 25 years, hustled and spent a lot of American money on innovation to reduce carbon, while at the same time becoming the biggest producer of oil and gas in the world. This is going exactly backwards on every front. And yes, there's a bunch of oil and gas produced in Mississippi, not much of it on federal lands, but don't think federal lands is where they're going to stop. I mean, they want to get rid of oil and gas just like they've almost got rid of coal.
Well, and one of the other things, too, is that capitalism, the free marketplace, is really taking care of it and letting the green energy progress at a free market pace that is solid. I mean, my God, you can't go anywhere out west now that you don't see wind farms. Solar farms are increasing even here in the state of Mississippi. So it's not like we're at a standstill, but it's marching at free market pace.
Well, and look, it's also been subsidized by the government. And they don't ever talk about that either, that there are wind farms in the Midwest that hardly have to sell any electricity to make money because they get such a big subsidy from the government. And I'm not complaining about that, but we just need to know that a lot of the renewable energy that's being produced in the United States is being subsidized.
Yeah, but he doesn't mention that about the subsidizing the green technology, but he sure did in the speech yesterday. Talked about we must end the subsidizing of the oil industry. And by the way, one other thing too, there's the group called the IEEE, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, and they had a study out that's showing if you've got turbines, you're using fossil fuels. Every stage in manufacturing wind turbines involves fossil fuels, and plenty of them. Without the steel, the cement, the fiberglass, there are no wind turbines. So it's not like it's absolutely free.
I'm sorry that I'm laughing, Paul, but I'm reminded TVA, which serves the northeastern part of Mississippi, got a new president while I was governor, and he came to see me, very nice guy. Mm-hmm. And I asked him about renewables. I said, are y'all doing much with renewables? He said, yeah, we've got 2 wind farms. He said they're up in the mountains in North Carolina because that's where you can get more wind. I said, well, how are they doing? And he said, well, they're about 20% effective. And I said, well, I don't understand what that means. He said they're turned off 80% of the time because there's not enough wind. Now, that was 15 years ago, and maybe the technology has improved, but they put those wind farms there not because it was the best way to make energy or even the cleanest way to make energy. It was part of keeping up with the political tides of the time.
The only thing that would make me more pessimistic than John Kerry being the climate czar now is if he had an assistant named Terry McAuliffe. So I don't even know where to go with that. So.
Well, how the idea of being the climate czar for Joe Biden, you're going to be the most popular guy in the world because mostly all you're going to be doing is giving money to the country.
That's exactly right.
That's part of the Paris Accord. The United States will chip in hundreds of millions of dollars to this country, that country, while China and India don't do diddly, and they're building new coal-fired power plants in Germany and China.
Final thoughts here. Are they going? They're not going to be successful in the Senate as far as the impeachment's concerned. So we know why they're doing it. They want to neuter this guy so he can't run again. The Patriot Group were gaining steam, and I think the Trump team day before yesterday, put out a needed press release saying, "Wait a minute, we're not on board with the Patriot Party. That's not us. We're with the Republican Party, and we'll march on from that." But so they've got to neuter the guy one way or the other. But your thoughts about the pending impeachment or trial?
Well, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. It doesn't appear to me to be constitutional. But to me, the bigger point is, why are we wasting the time? I mean, I don't know why the Democrats want to waste the time, except they hate Trump like the Pope hates sin. And so they're willing to do anything to make him look bad. As far as a third party, I mean, if you want to have left-wing progressivism, as they like to call themselves, I don't see anything that's progress about a thing they do. But if you want to have solid victories by Biden and Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders for the next 10 years, start a third party. Split up the conservative vote.
Yep.
If we split up the conservative vote, the Democrats will be in power when they're making it illegal to make a profit.
It is going to be a turbulent 4 years. The only time we can catch a nap is going to be when he's speaking, and I think we just got to get used to that in the 4-year period. So
sometimes it looks like he's catching a nap.
Oh man, his the stenographer yesterday, and I agree. The stenographer for several presidents, and I forgot the guy's name, said, "Look, I've been there. I know this. This guy's cognitive powers have decreased 50% in just the last couple of 3 years." So I don't think it's good.
Well, it's not good, and I'm not sure how much he's in charge, but obviously they've tried to make everybody on the left happy by their opening announcements and by their appointments. We'll see who ends up making the decision.
Look, I know this was on the spur of the moment, and I know you're traveling in Washington, D.C., and I thank you so very much, and to just say a couple of good words about a guy that you knew real well in Leland Speed. And I thank you, sir, and I look forward to getting you back on.
Thanks, Paul.
You got it. Haley